for you guys, and we may do some segments where you might want to get some questions in. But I decided to bring him on because he needed to set some things straight, and we needed to clear the air about some things that's going on in boxing because the man got like years of experience. He's really behind the scenes, and he gave me some pointers. He the reason why the channel got upgraded, the brand and all this kind of stuff. So he kind of advises me behind the scenes. A good brother, man. He from the Bay, like me. So Justin, thank you for returning to the show once again. So, I wanted to kick the show off. We just recently had the 37th anniversary of Sugar Ray Leonard and Marvin Hagler. To this day, is still a controversial fight pertaining to everything as far as the negotiations went with some of the stuff that went Sugar Ray Leonard's way versus Marvin Hagler's way, and then how the fight was scored to who really won the fight. So, me myself, after watching the fight like about 30 times, I came to the conclusion I thought Hagler did enough to win. But if you thought Ray Leonard won, that's fine too. So, I want to get your take on that fight. And what do you think of the fight?
I wonder how old I was when I had to be in my teens when that fight happened, or maybe like 10 years old, something like that. But I mean, to watch that fight and to watch a busy Sugar Ray Leonard, I mean, I think Hagler got going too late. Um, and Leonard did a lot in terms of stealing, working that 30-second window, of flurries, every round. Leonard was busy. Leonard stayed on his stick. Hagler stalked him, but Hagler didn't really get anything. Leonard kind of took the fight to Hagler, with his lateral movement and use of the ring. It was tremendous. I mean, it was a great fight. I mean, Leonard didn't sit down and go toe to toe with him like Hearns did, and that's what Hagler wanted. Hagler wants those types of fights. But Leonard used his brain and his high IQ, his high boxing IQ, and prevailed. You know, um, he didn't fight the fight that Hagler wanted, and like I said, Hagler got going too late. But that was a great fight. I mean, that was an era of the best fighting the best. That was an era of nobody ducking nobody. When you said that you wanted to fight somebody, they made it happen. It got going.
So it well, you entitled to your opinion. I watched it
And
several
you, and you,
times. I
and
thought
you,
that
and
I
I'm gonna tell
thought
you this
that
too.
Hagler turned it on like in the second half of the fight. And like I said, I gave it to Hagler, but I understand if you thought Sugar Ray Leonard won. But I'm glad you brought up the stuff about the best fight and the best compared to what we have now. We going into year 5. We still haven't got Crawford versus Spence, and there's been some other. We never got Wilder versus Anthony Joshua when the fight could have been made. And then you hear this stuff about, well, he with this dude and I'm with that dude and they with this network and I'm with this network. Do you really believe in that, or do you feel like it's more fear? Because I want to get your take on all the politics that we have going on in boxing and why sometimes it just take years, or maybe we don't even get the fights at all based off some of the stuff that's going on now. What's your honest opinion of it?
I mean, keeping it real. I mean, like
Go ahead.
how we have women on Facebook today. A lot of women thinking they're more than what they are. It's a lot of boxers. They think they're more than what they are. If you're not going in a venue selling 10,000 plus, if you're not selling an average 200,000 plus, you really ain't done shit. You really ain't did nothing to even kind of try to command anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, a lot of guys think, because they get to capture a title that they're worth millions. No, it don't work like that. Who has to put the money up? You know, and when somebody puts their money up for you to fight, they're looking to recoup their money. They're not just putting the money up to give it to you. And it's only only, a few ways to recoup your money back, in boxing. So it's just a lot of guys that, that outprice themselves. And when you outprice yourself, some of it is fear. When you asking for more than what you're really worth, some of that is fear. And then some of it is, promoters don't want to do business with other promoters. I mean, and I can understand the reasons why, as from being in the business 25 years, I understand why, another promoter, and I'm just keep it real, like Al, probably don't want to do business with Top Rank. I mean, that's understandable. And if I don't have to, if I have all of the talent over on my side and I have a network behind me, I don't have to do business with you. If especially if it's going to be hard in working the business, I got fighters in my stable that I can match up, and I could keep all the money over here. Especially if you don't want to be flexible and you don't want to work. We can't make this money work. If we can't make the money work, we can't make the fight work. You know what I'm saying? Everybody should get paid.
Well, what is your solution to where we can get these fights made where, basically the fighters get paid what they should get, or at least get paid a fair amount of money based off what do they think the fight could draw? What do you think of now? And you got to admit, when me and you were coming up, pay-per-views were like 40, 50, maybe at best $60. What do you think now,
Less than
going
that.
into the landscape of pay-per-views now, where you got Ryan Garcia versus Tank Davis, that's going to be about $85, and then not to mention with a subpar undercard.
I mean, the market has grown. I mean, inflation has came about. We just coming out of a pandemic, so I mean, in terms of everything's price gouged pretty much. Um, we had the Devin Haney fight. I think that's a little cheaper. That's like what,
60
50,
bucks.
$60. Yeah, so that's a little better. I mean, these guys are just really coming into a pay-per-view zone anyway. So I mean, when you coming into a pay-per-view zone, it's your pay-per-view first pay-per-view fight. You should be a little cheaper. That way you can display to the fans, what you got. The fans can see what you got, and then they not getting hit in the pocketbook hard. You know what I'm saying? Per home. So I think that was a good thing from Top Rank to give a discount. Um, like I said, every fighter is not a pay per view fighter. You have to build yourself up to that status. You know, and it has to data has to show that you could recoup the money. You could do the numbers. You could sell out a venue. If you're able to sell out a venue, your next step should be pay per view. That's how I look at it as. But if you're not, if the promoter is not building you up to become that, where you can do good numbers in your hometown, where you can do good numbers on the road in other cities, that's when you become a pay-per-view status. But the promoter has to do that. The promoter has to start you off in a particular area or your hometown and start you off with you selling 3 to 5 thousand. Then you sell 10,000. Then you sell 13, 14,000. You know, then you go on to become pay-per-view. We got to try pay-per-view because we're building it. We've built that person up in that city. You know what I'm saying?
And Jay, I wanted to ask you a question. And making a pay-per-view star, does it also come with the headliner having personality as well to go with trying to sell them on pay-per-view? Because some of these guys, they're great fighters, but then talking to them, it's like watching paint dry. So do you think that all comes into play? Because that's some of the things that they say about Tank. They say, well, he's a brilliant fighter, he's a great fighter, but then he doesn't give you much, when it comes to promoting these fights. And all the other guys from yesteryear, Oscar De La Hoya, Floyd Mayweather, even Lennox Lewis and those guys, they knew how to sell themselves. Do you think that's one of the problems now? And then you think have people lost their attention span when it comes to watching boxing now? And do you think there's ways we can fix it and make boxing more modern? Because back when we was growing up, people talked about boxing a lot, but now it just seemed like there's a lack of interest for boxing. And then you see the climb of the UFC, and then based off the fact that the UFC just did this deal with Endeavors, who went on to buy the WWE in a $21 billion deal, do you think that's what boxing is missing as well?
I mean, like I said, see what a lot of the promoters have done back in the day, and I'm gonna say Top Rank, and I'm gonna say Dan Goosen. Dan Goosen was known to use all of the casinos up and down California and get what we call a site. Hold on 1 second. Yeah, so yeah, Dan Goosen, he promoted a lot of fights up and down California. But what he did, and what a lot of other promoters are accustomed to doing, is using the casinos. And a lot of times the casinos, or they want to use the building to promote the talent instead of them getting out there and building the talent up. Like I said, if you sign a talent that's out of the Olympics, that's your guy. That's the guy that you want to build to becoming a world champion and a cash cow. So you got to start on a lower level. You got to get him sponsors. You got to get him endorsements. You got to do these marketing. You got to use these marketing tools. You got to spend some bread, is what I'm trying to hit at. You have to spend some money to build that fighter up, to whereas later on down the line you don't have a problem selling. And a lot of promoters don't do that. They don't allocate marketing monies for these fighters. Then they want to talk about them and say, "Oh, they're not a draw." I mean, they're not a draw because it's your fault. Back in the day, we became USA Network. We had up and coming fights that people could see on regular TV. The regular TV aspect for up and coming talent is key. You have to have that before you push them over the premium networks. You know, and like I said, I think that's the key right there, building them up in their own hometown first, because a fighter should be able to fight in their hometown at least one time a year, especially when you make it the world championship status. You should be able to fight in your hometown one time a year. All the other fights you fight in Vegas or New York. But like I said, it's about the grassroots. It's about the ground roots. It's about starting at a lower level when you sign that talent to out of the Olympics or turning pro. You start building them there. You put them on world championship card, pay-per-view cards, so that the people could see this is the next coming wave. You have to do that. And then that way, uh um fighting on regular TV. Because back in the day, we had ABC Wide World of Sports.
Yeah, I remember that.
Wide World of Sports was a regular television. Before cable got big, HBO was out, but we had ABC Wide World of Sports. ABC Wide World of Sports showed everything. All basketball showed, soccer, everything. But at the same time, you had fighters fighting on that channel, and the fans became more intimate with the talent, with the up and coming boxing talent, to whereas they became a name, they became known to the person. Like typically today, when you talk to somebody, like I'll say, I'm going to the fight. They'd be like, who's he fighting? They'd be like, who is that? It's like they don't know. So that's something that I've watched over the years. I don't see promoters fixing. They don't fix that part. Everyone should know who Tank is. Everyone should know who Ryan Garcia is. Everyone should know whoever the world champion is in every division. Somebody should know. People should know. And if they don't know, that means you're not doing your job as a promoter. And that's the way I look at it as.
Well, let me ask you this. Out of all the new talent versus the old talent, who do you think yourself personally is the most marketable? If it's not just one particular fighter, name a few. Who do you think is the most marketable fighter right now that you could sell to like a universal audience? Who could, I don't think there'll ever be another Floyd Mayweather, but who do you think is the most marketable now out of some of this new talent, this new wave of talent that we got?
Let's be clear. Let's be clear. Floyd Mayweather marketed himself when he did things like on 24/7 HBO 24/7, when he talked about money, when he flashed the money. He was marketing himself. He was able to get that fight with De La Hoya to steal his pay-per-view stardom. That's what he did. He built his he kicked ass. He showed up, he kicked ass, he did what he's supposed to do. And at the same time, he showed you money. He showed you all the extravagant things that money could buy. But he kicked ass too. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and that's that. I mean myself, I could turn into any fighter into a marketable talent. I feel if you winning, it's about the work that you have to do. A lot of these promoters want to turn these companies into corporate. They install people within their infrastructure, executives in their infrastructure that don't know boxing. The television networks, they have people in programming that don't know boxing. You know what I'm saying? So the promoters can come to them and rape them. Just keeping it real. They rape them for these large budgets, but don't put that money back into the budget because they gotta pay all this money to these corporate executives that don't know boxing. You know what I'm saying? The marketing people, they don't do anything. I mean that's what promoting is. Promoting is promote promotions. I'm gonna say promotion. Promotions come from marketing. It's when, where, how much, and who. If you're not conveying that to the demographic, to the audience, to the boxing fans, they're not gonna know who they are. So me myself, I would go back the old school way, and I would mix the new school platforms that I have available to me to help promote the talent too. But at the same time, I would like I said, I would start off with my fighter from the beginning and build them up. Like I said, they'll be to the point to whereas when they're 10-0, they selling 8,000 in their hometown, 10,000 in their hometown. People gonna be so much in tune with them to whereas when they get to the point to where they fight for a title, it's sold out. And then a lot of times an opponent is what makes a pay-per-view as well. You have to have a legitimate certified opponent in order to do a pay-per-view show. Because at some point, you're looking for another revenue stream now. We've already made all the money in the revenue stream, so now we're going to the next one. We're mixing another revenue stream in to generate monies. And both opponents have to be able to do that. So a lot of if you get the fighter in tune with training and having the ability to sell themselves from the beginning, it's not going to be hard by the time they get up there when they become world champions. It's not going to be hard for them to have that personality because you've been grooming them the whole time. They understand that me being more flexible, me being more open, me giving autographs, me being more polite and humble, you know what I'm saying, is going to help me because the fans is what is really how you get paid. You know, the more people that see you, the more people that watch you, the more people that want to see you. That's how you make money. You know, and just because you want a title don't mean that you're $1 million fighter. You know, like I said, somebody got to put the money up, and somebody's not putting their money up to not recoup their money back and make more. That's a wasted move.
Okay, so basically you saying it does take effort from takes effort from basically everybody involved. So I wanted to ask you, so when you hear certain fighters, we not gonna say their names. So when you we'll leave them alone, and you know who I'm talking about. So when you hear certain fighters say that they that is $10 million a piece, and them fight each other, and it'll sell, and you know who I'm talking about, because you know I don't want her to come after us. Do you really believe that? Could you break that down when you hear certain people saying, "Oh well, the money is there, and we could get 10 million a piece," and you got one that's a current undisputed champion, but you had one that hadn't fought in like 10 years, but they saying the money is out there.
I mean, if you ain't never made a million, how the hell you gonna say? If you ain't never made a million and your opponent has never made a million, where the hell do you get $10 million from? That's my point right there. So that's somebody lying to the boxer. That's somebody filling the boxer's head with a lie, whether it be a female boxer or a male boxer. If you've never made 10 million, a million, how can you get a million? I mean 10 million. How can you get 10 million if you've never made a million? And who's gonna get and who's gonna get that? How I'm gonna get my money back? You know what I'm saying? I mean, just like the guy. I mean, I'm gonna keep it real. He cool from Oakland. You know, I love to see the effort, but a fighter that you can't offer a fighter 10 million and they ain't never made 10 million. And that's no disrespect to my dog Terrence. I love him, but that don't make sense. You know, that means that means that like me knowing the business and other executives in the business that know the business, when we see stuff like that, we know it's gonna fold. That means you haven't done your research. That means you just think because you got money that you could spend it on something and you're not worried about the recouping. That's not smart. We don't get in this business to fall. We get in this business to stay around. Any business, if any person opens up a business, they have to do their research first. They have to find out if it's a market for it. And finding out what an opponent made his last 5 fights is what you have to do. You have to do your due diligence. And that suggests to me that you haven't done your due diligence. You know, perfect scenario. When Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford was trying to fight in November of last year, and the cat came and offered Terrence 10 million. What I would have done, which I feel that they didn't have the budget. They didn't have the monies budgeted. Showtime, Steven Espinoza didn't have the monies budgeted for Errol Spence in a Crawford fight. But we at November. We in November, and then December you have the college. You got the NFL. You got the college. You got the college bowls. You have the NFL playoffs, and in January you got the NFL playoffs. February, you have the Super Bowl, and then you have the NBA. I mean, like Showtime that really wasn't a good time for them to try to fight anyway. I think that they should have fought. I would have had them fight February, Black History Week. That would have been a perfect time for those guys to get down. And I felt that, you know, the fight couldn't get made because the budget wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? Because typically the network budget is, in January for that next year. You know, And like I said, but the way I would have done it, I would have partnered up with Terrence Crawford, and we would have went back in Al, and we would have negotiated a fight for February of next year. I wouldn't have just given Terrence 10 million. I would have gave him $1 million or something, became his partner, and we go sit down and we talk to Al, we make that fight. Errol Spence, he didn't make 10 million. He ain't made 10 million yet either. But what I would have given them both, the way I would have done it, Terrence probably would have got guaranteed 7 million. I would have guaranteed him 7. I would have guaranteed Errol Spence about maybe 10, 9, 8, 9, 10, round up in there. And we got to fight. 18, 17, 18 million. The fight would have probably cost 20 million. And then you do good pay-per-view numbers. You sell the whole thing out and do pay-per-view numbers. They could have probably generated 40 million. And then if it's a great fight, we got a rematch clause in there. Somebody's going to have a rematch clause. If it's a fight that everybody want to see, we got another fight. Another anticipated fight that might generate more than 40 million. You understand what I'm saying? That's how I would have did it. But it takes somebody knowing the business to know different scenarios of how they can operate. And honestly, promoters don't put their own money up. They never put their own money up. So that's another thing. If somebody coming in and trying to put their own money up, it ain't gonna work. And I ain't trying to be negative. It just ain't gonna work. I just been around, and I've watched all the greats for many years. I'm not gonna make moves like that. I'm gonna make a move that's gonna be smart, and then I'm gonna make a move that I can keep on going. Because that's what it's about. It's about the longevity at the end.
Okay. Yeah, because I wanted to kind of ask you about that situation that happened with that company because, as you know, there was a disaster with Adrian Broner where Adrian Broner basically just parted ways with the company. Basically, it ended before it started, basically because you lost three potential opponents within a 3-week period to where you just couldn't get it going. So you basically saying that you just can't come out the gate and say you want to get into the boxing business. There's levels to this, right?
You can't come out the gate and get in no business and think that you're gonna succeed and you haven't done your research. Like I said, if I come out offering Adrian Broner $3 million a fight for 3 fights, I mean $10 million for 3 fights. That's wrong. Adrian Broner don't make that much money. He hasn't made that kind of money. I mean, if you remember, Steven Espinoza offered Adrian Broner a 3-fight deal with Showtime some time back. It consisted of on an average for 3 fights, two, maybe 2 something, 2 plus million per fight. Now that's typical. That's what you get when you're a world champion. You're a household name from a television network. You don't get 3s. You don't get those 3s. You only get those 3s unless you superb and the promoter throwing you extras. You understand what I'm saying? Typically, the television network only allocate $2.5 million for the world champion. You know what I'm saying? And you got to be a hell of a world champion to get that $2.5 million. Anything else go to pay-per-view. And if you're not a pay-per-view star, you're not gonna get that money anyway. If you ain't selling out, you ain't selling no arenas out, you're not gonna get that money anyway. So you gotta it's just rule of thumb. You gotta do your due diligence before you get in any kind of business, or you're gonna fail. I mean, I'll help anybody. I'll help anybody because I really understand this shit.
Okay. So I wanted to ask you, Um, I wanted to ask you about the upcoming fight with Devin Haney versus Vasil Lomachenko, and I wanted to get your thoughts on that fight. How do you see that fight? How do you see that fight ending? Who do you see winning that fight, and how do you see the fight being won?
I mean, I think Devin Haney will beat Lomachenko. He's too big. Teofimo exposed Lomachenko. And I've watched Lomachenko's power decrease when he moved up to 135. It was taking him longer to get guys out of there. It was accumulation of blows, and he was getting guys out of there later. And like I said, Devin has tremendous boxing ability. So I see Devin prevailing. I see him prevailing in the end. With his boxing ability, he's gonna beat Lomachenko.
Okay, so I wanted to.
Lomachenko too small.
Okay, I wanted to ask you about a little bit of the controversy surrounding this fight because, well, they always seem to change the narrative sometimes, especially when the guys look like Devin Haney. Now, nobody was complaining about Lomachenko being bigger than Rigondeaux, a fight that he shouldn't even have took, but he said Rigondeaux challenged him, so he took it. But now I saw a chess move, sort of like basically a subliminal that Lomachenko tried to throw out back in October. And I spoke to you about this because I was pissed about it remember when Lomachenko said, "Oh, Devin looks like a heavyweight," and now you got some of these fanboys saying, "Oh, Devin's a weight bully," and oh, Lomachenko, if he loses, it's because he got weight bullied. So I wanted to get your take on that, and then also I wanted to ask you, what did you think of Mauricio Sullivan giving his personal opinion, talking about he saw Devin rehydrate 24 pounds? And I'm like, why does he even care?
I mean, the thing of it is, you're gonna rehydrate when you starve your body for 6 to 8 weeks. Boxers come down from weight to make weight. You don't go up to make weight unless you're doing a catch weight. You at a lower weight and you're going up. But typically boxers come down. So quite naturally, when after you make weight, you starve yourself, and after you make weight, you have to replenish the body. So quite naturally, with fluid, rapid fluid intake, and food, you're gonna weigh. You're gonna be heavier. You're gonna be heavier. That's always something that's been around. I mean, so for Suleiman to speak on that, I mean, that's just asinine.
Yeah,
I
because
mean, they
I
need
wanted
they
to
need
get your
they
opinion
need
on that. Why is he emotionally
they
invested in this? It sounds like he's showing some kind of bias, and it's like he also trying to give Lomachenko an excuse if Lomachenko loses this fight. So I just felt his job is to worry about his belts and not sit up there speaking on another fighter and worried about what his
he need to
weight.
concentrate. He need to concentrate on his sanctioning fees as he should, as he does, and not worry about that part. That part is not for him to worry about. That part is for both sides to get an agreement. And once that agreement is set, then that's what it is. That's what's gonna govern at the end of the day. That's I mean, and at the same time, we go wrong at in this boxing game. We pick sides.
Okay.
When I'm asked, because people know I'm a boxing enthusiast, they know that I know a lot about boxing, so they'll ask me what I think. It'll be a situation where like Fury and Deontay Wilder. I love Deontay Wilder, but I knew Deontay Wilder couldn't beat Fury. You know what I'm saying? Especially the first time, the second time. The second time, when I seen how Fury was planting and how he learned to use that jab and learned to get his power behind those shots, I seen a change in Fury. I didn't see no change in Deontay Wilder. So the point that I'm trying to make is that I'm a black man. I love boxing. When you love something, you have no color. The talent is what prevails in the end. The talent is what you pick, and I pick the talent all the time. So if it's another race that's better than that's more talented than the brother, I'm gonna pick who's talented. I'm not gonna
Well,
choose somebody because see, and that's the thing, with even with the YouTubers and promoters, not no, excuse me, the YouTubers and journalists, news people. You can't you rule yourself out taking sides. Like I see a lot of cats, they take Errol Spence side. I had a partner the other day talked about Errol Spence. Terrence Crawford ain't faulting nobody. Terrence Crawford fought. I named three fighters that Errol Spence fought. That Terrence fought. So like, you can't just pick sides. You rule yourself out. You have yourself to whereas nobody wants to do interviews with you, which I feel that all the boxers should do interviews because it's free promotion for self. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, like I said, I love boxing. I'm not gonna just pick sides. I'm gonna pick who I think is the best talent.
I'm glad you spoke on that because I wanted to ask you an in-depth question because I spoke to you behind the scenes, but I wanted to get your opinion because I think I need to like let you really speak on this because I told you one of the things that made me mad about this whole Errol Spence Terrence Crawford situation. You had a lot of content creators and boxing channels basically trying to divide the community and make this a black versus black thing where and it's okay if you like Errol Spence better than you do Terrence Crawford or vice versa, but how do you feel about some of the content creators that basically caused the racial divide within our community, made it like if you support Terrence Crawford you some kind of coon or sellout, and you pro-black if you support Errol Spence. And I know that there's some people that me and you both know that kind of got this pot stirring, but I just wanted to get your opinion on it because I told you how upset I was about how a lot of content creators did that to where they divided the community where this should have just been a fight. We should have been celebrating, two brothers fighting and making, some money, because at the end of the day, it's a win-win situation. But I wanted to ask you about dudes that got too personally invested in one fighter.
I mean, the
So
thing of it is ignorance. Typically when people are ignorant, meaning not they don't know, they don't have no education in the field that they're trying to pursue or they're trying to be in. Um, um, you got to ignore ignorance, basically, because that's just really what it is. I mean, like I said, you rule yourself out lying and making it seem like a fighter hasn't hasn't fought the same fighters when they clearly have. I mean, and they've done other things in the lighter weights. So it's just something that you gotta utilize. You gotta use that as a tool to get better. You do. You have to utilize that is a way to get better and be different and be unique in this game. And I think, and that's why that's about being more neutral, and calling it right, calling it fair. You have to call it fair. And to see two brothers, they're already fighting each other, but this is a sport that they chose. And the thing of it is, when you get in that ring, it take a hell of a man to get in that ring. So I ain't gonna never try to disrespect another man and put another man down. Cause a lot of cats ain't even gonna get in that ring. So for them trying to create racial biases between both brothers, that's just something that ain't cool. That ain't cool at all. They need to cut that shit out. Period, point
yeah,
blank. They need to cut that type of shit out. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, be honest, be an analyst, give both fighters. You know, if they're world champions, they have good things on both sides. I feel it take a lot to become a world champion. You know, these guys start off as amateurs and they put in 100 amateur fights, 200 amateur fights, you know, and then they go on, they fight 20 more times, 20 something more times to become a world champion. That's their dream. So if they become a multi world champion, you can't sit up there and knock that multi world champion at all. You know, and Terrence Crawford was a multi world champion before he even went up there and tried to fight, you know, or was even asking to fight Errol Spence. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, it shouldn't be nothing about. It shouldn't be no uh um you know, creating racial biasness between those two. It should be about us wanting to see a spectacular fight between two world champions. And at the end, you're gonna see who won. Period, point blank. That's what it's all about.
Okay. So I wanted to let you chime in on something because you wanted to speak on uh people like really messing up the boxing game. You know, YouTubers fighting and drawing more attention than regular fighters and stuff. So I wanted to give you the floor to speak on that.
I mean, the thing of it is, I really don't respect. I mean, I respect the Pauls for getting in the ring, but I mean, you're not getting in the ring with guys that have 50 amateur fights. You and turning pro and pro. You're not getting in the ring with guys that got 100 amateur fights. Yeah, Floyd Mayweather did that, and I don't feel that Floyd Mayweather should have taken that fight because that gives a black eye to the game. It's a lot of cats out here, a lot of boxers out here that started off very young and won't make the money that the YouTubers are making. The YouTubers have created a false sense. They've created a false perspective on what boxing really is, man. You know, boxing is hard work. Like I said, if you go down and look at all the fighters, Google all the top world champions, look at all the amateur fights that they've had. A lot of them are 100, Javante Davis, 200 amateur fights. Ryan Garcia, 200 amateur fights. They both got a slew of national titles. They fought international fighters across all over the world. You know, so they're destined to become world champions. You know, it's just the boxing fanatic is not the new boxing fanatic is not educated, and that's what it is. They're not educated. You know, they think that because they see a knockout that's cool. It takes more than that. It takes if you reference football, when you start off at football, in football you start off as Pee Wee, then you go you as Pop Warner or Pop Warner, then you go to high school, then you go to college, then you turn pro. So those amateur fights, those 100 amateur fights that you see these guys getting, that's the Pop Warner, that's the high school, that's the college. Then they turn pro. Though it takes a whole lot of amateur experience to become a world champion. So
Okay. Hey, let me ask you something. Do you think guys like let me ask some, do you think guys like Jake Paul and his brother and KSI, do you think they should be called professional boxers? Do you think they should be called like boxing entertainers? Because I don't think they should be called professional fighters when they don't really fight other professional fighters. I just think they should recategorize that because you seen what happened with Jake Paul the first time he fought an actual fighter. Oh man.
Repeat that
Hold on.
again.
No, I just said, do you think I think that they shouldn't be considered professional fighters when they don't fight professional fighters. I think it should be called something else. I think they should be called what is a spectacle. I don't think it should be categorized as a professional boxing match. I think
And it
Jake
shouldn't
Paul
and it should
already got a
and
taste.
it shouldn't be a pay-per-view. Like I said, that damages the sport. You know, the athletic commissions are at fault for these types of things. You know what I'm saying? They shouldn't sanction fights
Sanction.
like that. You feel
Okay.
me? They shouldn't
Yeah.
sanction fights like that. And like I said, that's disrespectful to the fighter that will never make the amount of money that they've made.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Absolutely. They're saying that Jake Paul made uh, like over $10 million, saying he made somewhere like an astronomical amount, and Tyson Fury's brother made almost $10 million. They took home a lot of money, and I was thinking to myself, they just leapfrogged over everybody. Basically, they were YouTubers, which Jake Paul was doing very well on YouTube. He had uh over 20,000, I mean, excuse me, 20 million subscribers. So did KSI. I mean, but now it's like this dude is going around here parading around as a professional fighter. But then when they ask him to get in the ring with a professional fighter, then he says, not right now. And then he's sitting up saying that he'll fight Canelo in 2 years and he'll take Canelo out. And I just think he's trying to basically take shortcuts and try to do basically what happened with Conor McGregor. And I'm looking at Conor McGregor, and I think that's where a lot of this stuff started. Conor McGregor made I'll put it to you this way. Conor
100
McGregor made
million. 100 million at least.
his debut professional fight. Never fought a professional fight before in his life, and made more money than what a lot of fighters may not even see in their whole career. And he's still living off that money. And I
It's
just wanted to
disrespectful.
ask you, did that
It,
kind of
it,
start this stuff?
it disrespects the morale, the morale of boxing. I mean, to me, I mean, who am I? But I have my opinion. I just feel like you know, look how that fight went. Look how Floyd carried him 10 rounds. Floyd could have been knocked him out. You know what I'm saying? Like, it disrespects the sport of boxing. You know, to have a circus events like that. You know, yeah, boxing is a messed up sport, but we don't need nobody else coming in messing it up even more. And nor do we need to participate in the demise of it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and that's just what it is. You know, it gives a bad rap to boxing. You know, and like I said, it's disrespectful to that fighter that has at least 50 amateur fights. At least the fighter that has 50 amateur fights, started the process. You know, it's not cool. But hey, that's
Yeah.
my opinion.
Nah, I respect it. Hey, Justin, I appreciate you coming on here, man. You welcome here anytime. Is there anything you want to say before we sign off? And anybody that's interested in talking to you, whether it's on some business stuff or bringing you on for, interviews, like how can they reach you?
They know how to get in touch with you.
Yeah, that's true. You can get, yeah, you can.
touch with you, then give me a call. But I mean, it is another brother out here that knows business. That's an executive that can help any fighter out there. I do have, you know, and I know the business. And anybody needs some advice, give me a call. Get my number from Joe, and give me a call.
All right. Hey, appreciate you, Jay.
Appreciate you.
All right, bro.
Yeah.